Alright, making a feather. Been a while since I did a video, so you're going to have to bear with me. I usually use scrap piece of the leather. Just scrap whatever you have laying around. Doesn't matter the size, whatever. You can use super thick, super thin. I don't have a pattern for doing them. I just kind of look at the shape of what a feather might be, and I take a pencil and I kind of rough sketch how I think it'll look. You kind of do whatever you want. You can make it pointy or not so pointy. But the key is to, on the end here, bring it in and make it a little bit wider than what you normally would, than a regular end of a bird feather, because you want to roll it. And then make it as long as you want. Say we'll make this one into a keychain, so I make it longer. Alright. So we do this, and it's wider. Then take scissors or a knife, whatever you want to use, doesn't matter. And just cut it out. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, because you're just gonna chop it up anyhow. And if you don't want it quite that long, or if it looks ridiculous, then just cut it off. And come back over. The important part is that stem on the end, because if you make it too thin, then it won't support it, depending on what you're trying to do. All right. To do that, then you got to set your center bead, which is this here. So all you do is start either end, it doesn't matter. Draw a line to a point, draw a line to a point, and that's that. Okay. Once you get that done, you're going to want to wet it. You can wet it with a sprayer. Or whatever you got. And then I go back with the swivel blade, and I've cut in the center line. Like that. Everybody skives differently. Some people like to skive dry, wet, doesn't matter. If you don't have one of these skiff knives, you can use a French edger, doesn't matter. You just come along the back. The key is to thin out this outside edge, sort of like a bird's feather tapers. Just come along. I like doing this when it's damp, because then it doesn't put dust all over the place. But it's all personal preference. Come in, skip it. I'm sure everybody has their own techniques on how they do this stuff. This is just mine, so you'll figure it out. This will give you the basics. So you see how it goes from high to low, and you're just pulling towards the stone. It just thins that edge out. It's okay if it's a little raggedy, because you just come back with your scissors, cut this off here. Alright, now some people save this stuff for doing the embossing. I got tons of it. Alright, from this point, you come in with a beveler, and I like to make it pronounced. You don't have to do this. I mean, if you're in a rush, you can always come in too and just use your beveler by hand and run it on the inside edge like this, if you can see it. Alright. So what that does is that raises that edge up a little bit. Hopefully you can see that. Alright. So once you get that done and you go one way, I come back and I turn my beveler and I go back this way and push down that leading edge. Get all this worked in. Alright. So then you have that. Hair blades, I have a couple. I have one that goes in my swivel knife. I also have this one that I got from Tandy. It's really your choice what you use. I like using the standard hair blade. I think Wendy's got something weird she makes. Start from the line here and pull this way. What this does is it sets the texture of the feather. I give a lot of pressure because I really want that impression in there. See how that's making the striations. Hopefully you can see that. Alright. And do that all the way down. Same with the other side. I kind of angle it like a bird feather would be, and you're probably saying, why is this so wide at the top? You'll see when we get there. You'll most likely find your own way to do this, or you'll see a different way, or blah blah blah. This is just how I do it. This is how mine come out. Everybody's are a little bit different. Alright, that's that. Now the other thing you want to do, doing the skiffing, let's come back. I only take a little bit off the whole thing, because you're going to roll it anyhow. Alright, next part is take a razor knife or your scissors, whichever you prefer, doesn't matter. Come in and you'll cut little guy right here. Now if you don't want to cut on your stone, which I guess you technically shouldn't, come in and cut like this. Do another one. Okay, and that gives you your curls, so you can kind of curl them back a little bit. Do the same thing on the other side, come back in. You don't have to be perfect, it can be any way. I think I just shoot that one off. Even if you have to come up this way a little bit. So then all this does is just pull this, get these little fronds up here at the top, whatever they call them. And I like to take my blade, I come in, and if I want it tattered, I'll take the blade and just chop a few of the ends. To make it a little bit more pronounced. And then for nicks, and just cut a nick out. So you could use scissors, but I just always use a blade. And you come in, and when you cut them like this too, it makes them so you can bend them and shape them a little bit easier. You can even come in and take a little chunk out here. Just come in and cut a few strikes. So it gives you a couple little nicks. You can come down a little bit further and just cut through. You don't even have to nick it. And then that way when you turn it, you can see where you cut all the way through and where you didn't. If you want to cut through, then just come back and cut a few all the way. Now you take this part and push it in. And this is where you pull it. And this will give your feather effect of where the stem goes, pith, whatever they call it. You start getting the basic shape of the feather. Now this looks a little ooky, so you come up, just cut it, fan it out a little bit. You can pull it apart. Yeah, I'm doing this really quick, so, but this way it sets a little bit nicer. And now you can do just about anything you want with it, especially when it comes time for paint. I know it looks kind of a little off, but you can cut the side a little bit straighter to give it like a pin feather look. It straightens it out. If it's not enough on the thinning, you can go back and shave it down a little bit more. But for the most part, that's how I make my feathers. Now it's ready for paint. I usually let mine dry before I paint, so I'll have to do that later.